Hello, my name is Emma and today I'm showing you how to use the apostrophe properly. After the success of my video on commas and the interaction that I got off of the back of that, I could tell you guys are really digging punctuation videos. So I thought, what else is a piece of punctuation that really messes people up? Apostrophes. Apostrophes really gripe people. I've actually had to write an apostrophe guide for a designer I worked with once and have one too many infuriating conversations with my dad who refuses to get it right, and I think he's only doing it to annoy me, but I take the bait every goddamn time. So today we're going to discuss apostrophes and we're going to discuss how to get it right, and as usual I will include some rather hilarious examples of apostrophes gone wrong because you guys love to see other people fail. And I think really it makes us all feel a little bit better, doesn't it, when you can see that somebody else isn't quite getting it either. And it's all the more incentive to make sure that you do get it right, because some of these are damn, do you know what I mean? So let's get cracking. So what do we use apostrophes for in the real times? Well, apostrophes are used to indicate contractions, possessives and plurals. What the crap did I just say? Calm your tits, we're going to go through it. I'm going to explain it all in a way that's both hilarious and relatable so you can get it. Let's begin with the hardest one. Let's get it done. Possessives. You can use an apostrophe to show that something belongs to something else. This comes in two main flavours, singular and plural. So a singular possessive is when one entity owns something, one single entity, and to show this you're going to put an apostrophe between the noun and the S. For example, Sarah's drug stash. The drug stash belongs to Sarah. Sarah is one individual, so the apostrophe is going to go before the S, and that shows us one individual or entity owns something. The tricky bit comes in when you begin to get into plurals, that is to say, more than one individual. You get your plural possessive. For example, the girls' locker room. Because there is more than one girl that owns the locker room, the apostrophe comes after the S. Okay? So that just basically shows you that when you're reading, you can tell when it's more than one person owns something and when only one person owns something. For example, it could be a locker room that belongs to only one girl, and if you wanted to convey that you would have to put the apostrophe before the S. Girls' locker room. One girl owns the locker room. Afterwards, many girls own the locker room. But oh wait a minute, what about plural possessors? What? So more than one person owns something, but the word is already a plural word. For example, gentlemen's club. The gentlemen own the club, but because gentlemen is already a plural word, you put the apostrophe before the S, because the word gentleman already shows us that it's more than one man. If it was gentleman's club, the apostrophe would still come before the S because man is singular. Men is a word that already shows us that there is more than one. Men, man, plural, singular. You get it, right? Hopefully you get it. But hold up, not in all circumstances, because we're forgetting about the plural pronoun. That is words like his, hers, ours, yours, its, and this is a mistake that I see regularly, and it's actually a mistake that I sometimes make myself, and I've added it to my proofing list because I know I'm an offender, and that is its. Its. When something belongs to a neutral, like it, you do not need an apostrophe. You don't need an apostrophe for any of these plural pronouns, not at all, because again, like gentlemen, the word already shows you that there is more than one, and the word already shows us that they own something. Ours, it's a word that's already a possessive word, it's a word that's already a plural word. The apostrophe is not needed, it can get the fuck out. We don't want it here in our possessive pronouns. So here's my major gripe, its. You would think because it owns something you put an apostrophe there, right? But no, because when you do that, it's actually a contraction of the word it is. The apostrophe shows us that there's a missing I there, or the word is. It's a contraction, it's not a possessive. If you want to do a possessive for the word it's, you just write it's, no apostrophe, because it's a possessive pronoun. This segues nicely into whose. If you write who, apostrophe s, you're actually writing who is. You're not writing that it, whose is this bong, because that would be whose, whose. That's a possessive pronoun. So you use that, not who is, because that's wrong. Who is this bong? Doesn't make no sense. So there you have the complex world of the possessive apostrophe. I hope I didn't blow your mind. If I did, pop a comment below and ask me about it, or check out the blog post I wrote where I go into even more detail on it with written examples so you can see with your eyes as you read what I've just said here, because this may come across as a bit of a garbled mess. Hopefully it didn't. Number 2, plurals. You need to use an apostrophe to show the plural of 4 separate things. You're showing letters and numbers, words, acronyms, and in a way, a quantity of time. So let's begin with the quantity of time, because that sounds a little bit confusing. So 1 week's notice. It's one singular week, so you're putting the apostrophe before the s, and you're showing that the time belongs to 1 week, as it were. So showing a quantity of time, 1 week's time. If you're upping it to more than 1 week, your apostrophe, of course, as we just learned, comes after the s, 2 weeks' time. Get it? So you're showing a quantity of time. You need an apostrophe for that. To indicate the plural of letters and numbers, this is more for confusion's sake. So if you're writing ones or s's, imagine how confusing that looks written down. People may not get what you're trying to say, and punctuation is all about giving clarity to the written word. If you're not there to read it aloud or to explain it, you need punctuation to do the work for you. So pop a little apostrophe in and people can see that it's s's, a collection of s's, more than one s, or a handful of fives. For example, there's more than one. It doesn't look confusing written down on the page. This is similar for acronyms like YMCA, TV. These are all words that have the initials rendered down into a nice easy format. That's what an acronym is. And to make sure that it's not super duper confusing by adding another letter on the end of it that may or may not be part of the acronym, you add an apostrophe so people can see that it's not actually part of the acronym at all. It actually indicates more than one of that acronym. I've got 50 TVs. Plural of words. Ifs and buts, do's and don'ts. These are kind of confusing already, especially with do's and don'ts, because don't is already a contraction, so it already has an apostrophe in it. So to put another one in it looks horrible on the eye, but it is the right way to do it. I've seen some people go on preference for that, especially copywriters. They may actually not want to put that in because it looks so horrible, but according to the rule book, you need to do it because, again, like with acronyms and letters and numbers, can look a little bit confusing. People need to be able to tell that there's more than one and it's not just part of the word, so you do need an apostrophe in there. How not to use an apostrophe to indicate a plural is the world famous greengrocer's apostrophe. This is where you use an apostrophe to show the plural of something where it's absolutely 100% not needed. Carrots and potatoes. The S already shows you that there is more than one carrot and more than one potato. Putting an apostrophe in there is saying carrots and potatoes like that belongs to them. That makes no sense. They've got no rights, they're fruit and veg. You don't need an apostrophe to show the plural of nouns. Just an S will do that for you. The only thing you need an apostrophe to show a plural of is letters and numbers, acronyms, words, and a quantity of time, or a plural of time, if you will. Don't need it for just common nouns. So save yourself a little bit of work, don't guess it, just accent out. And that brings us to the end, thank God, of apostrophes for plurals. Now moving on to number 3. Apostrophes to show contractions. Contractions are, as they sound, a contracted version of a word. That means a shorter version of a word. And you're using the apostrophe to show where the missing letters are. So people can see that it actually is 2 words, but you've just chopped out some of the letters. It's just a nice tidy way to show where the missing letters are in a word, so people can see that it is a contracted word. For example, if you're looking at we are, we're, without the apostrophe, that's were. That's a completely different word. Don't want to do that because that makes you look like an idiot. Put the apostrophe in, show people it's we are. Contractions can also be in the form of dates. For example, I rocked a scrunchie back in 98. I'm actually referring to 1998, but I'm not going to put the 19 on there because I'm assuming that you know that. So I'm going to pop an apostrophe on before the 98 so that you can see I'm talking about a date. I haven't written the whole date. I've put an apostrophe so that you can see that I've cut off some letters and you're not freaking confused and you're like, what's 98? Is that some kind of a club that you used to go to? What are you talking about? So there you have it. Contractions. Using an apostrophe to show what you've slashed out of a word or a date or a number. So we've finally reached the end of this video. I hope you've not fallen asleep or switched off or have pages of written notes with scribbles all through them because you're trying to follow along and you just were confounded by me and my words. If you've got any questions, which I'm sure you probably have, you can find me on Twitter at @EJCownley, or you can just simply pop a comment below and I will delve down there and find you and bring you the answers that you are looking for, because apostrophes can mess you right up. I think I've pretty much covered everything off. Until next week, I guess I'll see you then. Take care and have a good week.